Some of the most powerful machines ever built are rusting in barns right now, not because they broke down, but because the world forgot about them. These are not collector pieces. These are not museum relics. Farmers in the American Midwest, rural Europe, and across South America are still cranking these iron giants to life every single morning. 10 tractors from the 1980s that the industry buried, but the land refused to let die. Number 10. Allis-Chalmers, 8070 1982-1985. Allis-Chalmers was once one of the most respected names in American agriculture. Founded in Milwaukee in 1901, the company built everything from generators to combines. By the early 1980s, their flagship row crop tractor, the 8070, was producing 170 PTO horsepower from a 6-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine. The 8070 featured a 12-speed power director transmission, a system that allowed on-the-go shifting between two ranges without stopping, a genuine innovation for field work at the time. The cab was spacious, climate-controlled, and widely regarded as one of the quieter operator environments in its class. But in 1985, Allis-Chalmers sold its agricultural division to Deutz of West Germany. The resulting company, Deutz-Allis, discontinued many models immediately. The 8070 vanished from production after fewer than 3 years on the market. Why do farmers still run them? Parts availability through the AGCO parts network. AGCO eventually absorbed Deutz-Allis in 1990, means mechanical support still exists. Operators who learned the power director system in the 1980s describe it as intuitive and low fatigue during long field days. Several dozen are documented still in active tillage use across Iowa and Nebraska as of the early 2000s. Number 9. White Field Boss 4210 1980. White Farm Equipment, based in Hopkins, Minnesota, produced some of the most capable four-wheel drive machines of the late 20th century. The Field Boss 4210 was their articulated flagship, a machine built around a Cummins NT855 diesel engine, producing 210 horsepower at the drawbar. Articulated four-wheel drive tractors hinge in the middle, allowing the front and rear axles to turn independently. This design provides outstanding traction on soft or uneven ground and reduces soil compaction compared to rigid frame alternatives. The 4210 could pull an 18-foot chisel plow through heavy clay soil without wheel slip. White Farm Equipment filed for bankruptcy in 1980 and was eventually reorganized before being acquired by Allied Products Corporation. The instability at the corporate level meant part supply chains became unreliable, and dealers were hesitant to stock inventory for a brand in flux. The machines themselves, however, were overbuilt for their era. Farmers in Montana and the Dakotas who purchased them kept meticulous maintenance records and sourced Cummins engine parts independently, bypassing the white dealer network entirely. A handful remain in annual use for primary tillage operations. Number 8. Minneapolis-Moline A4T1600, carried into 1980s production. Minneapolis-Moline is a name most people under 40 have never encountered. The company, founded in 1929 through a merger of 3 Minnesota implement manufacturers, produced tractors with a distinctive prairie gold paint scheme that were renowned for their engineering sophistication. The A4T1600 was their articulated four-wheel drive machine, powered by a turbocharged 585 cubic-inch diesel generating around 169 drawbar horsepower. It featured a torque converter transmission, unusual for large agricultural tractors of its era, which provided smooth stepless power application and reduced drivetrain shock loads during field operation. White Motor Corporation absorbed Minneapolis-Moline in 1963, and by the mid-1970s had begun phasing out the brand identity. Production of distinct branded machines effectively ended before 1980. But units sold in the late 1970s remained in active service well into the following decade and beyond. What makes the A4T1600 remarkable is its torque converter, which many operators credit with extending transmission life far beyond what comparable gear drive competitors achieved. Farmers who run wheat operations in Kansas and Oklahoma report that properly maintained examples have accumulated tens of thousands of engine hours with original drivetrain components still functional. Number 7. International Harvester 3588 2+2, 1979–1984. International Harvester's 2+2 concept was one of the most unconventional ideas ever put into production by a major tractor manufacturer. Rather than building a traditional two-wheel or four-wheel drive machine, IONG engineers designed an articulated tractor with 4 equal-sized drive wheels, but with the cab positioned at the hinge point in the center of the machine. The 3588 produced 170 horsepower from a DT466 6-cylinder turbocharged diesel. The articulating center mount gave operators an unobstructed view of both the front and rear wheels, critical for precision row crop work with planters and cultivators. The design also produced a shorter wheelbase than comparable horsepower competitors, improving maneuverability at field ends. I marketed the 2+2 series aggressively between 1979 and 1984. Then the company's financial crisis hit. International Harvester, battered by strikes, debt, and the farm crisis, sold its agricultural equipment division to Tenneco in 1984. Tenneco merged it with its existing JI Case division, creating Case 1H. The 2+2 line was discontinued almost immediately. Collectors and working farmers prize them today for the unique sightline advantage and the proven durability of the DT466 engine, one of the most reliable diesels ever produced in North America. The DT466 platform remained in production in trucks and buses until 2009, ensuring parts remain available. Number 6. Steiger Panther III Series, 1980–1986. Steiger manufacturing began as a family operation in Thief River Falls, Minnesota in the late 1950s. Brothers Douglas and Maurice Steiger built their first tractor from salvaged components in a dairy barn to handle their large family farming operation. The machines they eventually put into production became the gold standard for high horsepower articulated four-wheel drive tractors. The Panther III series of the early 1980s included models ranging from 270 to 325 horsepower. Enormous output for the time, powered by Cummins or Caterpillar diesel engines depending on customer specification. Steiger allowed buyers to select their preferred engine, an unusual and highly valued flexibility in the industry. The frame was constructed from heavy-gauge rectangular steel tubing rather than cast iron, providing exceptional torsional rigidity while keeping weight lower than competitors. The articulation joint used large, tapered roller bearings capable of handling years of heavy field stress without failure. Tenneco acquired Steiger in 1986 and folded the brand into Case 1H, renaming the machines the Case 1H Steiger series. Production continued, but the original Steiger-badged machines became highly sought after by farmers who associated the name with superior build quality. Independent repair networks for Cummins and Caterpillar engines mean mechanical support for these tractors is robust even today. Number 5. Ford TW35 1983–1990. Ford has been manufacturing tractors since Henry Ford produced the Fordson in 1917. By the early 1980s, Ford New Holland was producing their TW series, a line of high-horsepower two-wheel and four-wheel drive machines that competed directly against John Deere and Case 1H in the large row crop and tillage segment. The TW35 was the flagship of the series, powered by a Ford 401 cubic-inch 6-cylinder turbocharged intercooled diesel producing approximately 172 horsepower. At the PTO, the engine used a wet sleeve design, replaceable cylinder liners that could restore worn bores to factory specifications without a full block replacement. This made major rebuilds practical and cost-effective. Ford sold its tractor operations to Fiat in 1991, creating the New Holland brand. The TW series was phased out as Fiat consolidated product lines. However, the TW35's wet sleeve engine design made it one of the most rebuildable large tractors of its era. Agricultural engine rebuilders report that properly rebuilt TW35 engines can match or exceed original factory performance specifications. Wheat farmers in Kansas, Oklahoma, and the Texas Panhandle particularly favor the TW35 because its horsepower-to-weight ratio, approximately 17 pounds per horsepower, provided excellent pulling efficiency on the relatively firm soils of the southern plains. Number 4. Versatile 895, 1982–1987. Versatile Manufacturing Limited was founded in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in 1947. The company built a reputation for engineering ingenuity, producing swathers, augers, and eventually tractors designed specifically for the vast flat terrain of the Canadian prairies and the northern Great Plains of the United States. The 895 was Versatile's top articulated four-wheel drive offering in the mid-1980s, powered by a Cummins KTA 1156-cylinder turbocharged diesel producing 335 horsepower. This engine, the KTA 1150, was also used in highway trucks, marine applications, and heavy construction equipment, giving it an enormous aftermarket parts and service infrastructure entirely independent of any tractor dealer network. Ford acquired Versatile in 1987, and subsequent ownership changes, including a period under New Holland and then a management buyout, left the brand's commercial continuity uncertain. But the 895 itself never needed a dealership to survive. Canadian prairie farmers maintained extensive mechanical knowledge of the Cummins KTA engine, and the machine's robust construction meant frame and drivetrain components rarely required replacement. Several Canadian agricultural operations report Versatile 895 tractors with original frames and axles, still performing primary tillage work on farms exceeding 5,000 acres 4 decades after manufacture. Number 3. John Deere 8850, 1982–1988. John Deere is not a forgotten brand. It is the dominant name in American agricultural equipment. But the 8850 occupies an unusual position. It was the most powerful tractor John Deere produced in the 1980s. Yet it was discontinued before the decade ended, and has been largely overshadowed by the company's subsequent product generations. The 8850 was powered by a John Deere 955 cubic inch V8 diesel engine producing 304 PTO horsepower, the only V8 engine John Deere has ever put into production in a farm tractor. The V8 configuration provided exceptional torque, smoothness, and power delivery compared to inline-six competitors, which many operators felt translated into reduced operator fatigue during extended field days. John Deere produced approximately 2,400 units of the 8850 over its production run. The machine weighed approximately 36,000 pounds, unballasted, and used a 12-speed powershift transmission that allowed on-the-go range changes without clutching. The 8850 was replaced by the 8960 in 1989, which used an inline-six engine. Many operators who experienced both machines express a preference for the V8's torque characteristics. John Deere parts support for the 8850 remains active. The machine's relative scarcity, fewer than 2,500 produced, gives it strong collector value, but documented examples continue operating in commercial crop production in the Corn Belt. Number 2. Case 4994, 1983–1986. The J.I. Case Company was one of the founding names of American agriculture. Founded in 1842 in Racine, Wisconsin, Case had been producing threshers, steam engines, and gasoline tractors for generations. When they introduced the 4994 in 1983, the most powerful two-wheel drive tractor ever produced by a mainstream American manufacturer. Read that again, two-wheel drive. The 4994 was not an articulated four-wheel drive machine. It was a conventional rear-wheel drive row crop tractor producing 400 horsepower from a Scania DS14 turbocharged inline-six diesel. To put that in context, the average new full-size farm tractor in 1983 produced between 100 and 150 horsepower. The 4994 produced nearly 3 times the industry average from a single conventional axle. Case engineers paired the engine with enormous dual rear tires, 30.5 by 32-inch flotation tires, and a massive front weight package to prevent the nose from rising under full drawbar load. The machine used a 12-speed partial power shift transmission. J.I. Case merged with International Harvesters Agricultural Operations in 1984 to form Case 1H, and the 4994 was discontinued by 1986. Only around 370 units were ever produced, making it among the rarest production farm tractors in North American history. The few surviving examples are carefully preserved, some in museums, some in active use, and command prices of $150,000 or more at specialized farm equipment auctions. Number 1. Deutz-Fahr DX830, 1983-1990. Our number 1 pick may surprise American viewers because this machine was built in Germany and it is still running on farms across Europe, South America, and Sub-Saharan Africa in numbers that would astonish anyone who has only tracked the North American tractor market. Deutz, later Deutz-Fahr, following a 1985 merger with Fahr of Gottmadingen, built their reputation on one technology: air-cooled diesel engines, while virtually every other tractor manufacturer in the world used liquid-cooled engines requiring coolant systems, radiators, water pumps, and thermostats. Deutz used direct air cooling from the mid-20th century onward. The DX830 produced 230 horsepower from an air-cooled turbocharged V8 diesel. No coolant, no radiator, no water pump to fail. In temperatures ranging from -30°C in Argentine winters to 45°C in African summer, the engine started and ran without the freeze risks and overheating failures that plagued liquid-cooled competitors in extreme climates. Deutz eventually transitioned to liquid-cooled engines in the 1990s, citing improved emissions control requirements that were difficult to achieve with air cooling at higher horsepower outputs. But the DX830 generation, the last of the high-horsepower air-cooled Deutz tractors, found a loyal market in regions where cooling system failures meant operations could not function. In Brazil, Argentina, South Africa, and East Africa, DX830 tractors remain in agricultural use on large grain and sugar operations. The simplicity of the air-cooled system means local mechanics can maintain the engine with basic tools. Parts produced for Deutz air-cooled engines were standardized across multiple models, creating a parts ecosystem that has outlasted the tractor's original commercial life by decades. If you found value in this video, subscribe for more agricultural history and working equipment coverage. We cover the machines that built this industry, the ones in the history books, and the ones still in the field.